Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MSP Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Chad Lyons. And, I finally overcame that cold that's been messing up my voice for the past few weeks. Feeling pretty good. I hope that you can tell that my voice is better. It's possible that maybe I just have a nasally voice all the time. Before we start, you know the drill. I'd like to invite you guys to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. And in each of those places, you can find us simply by searching for Epowet, EPOWET. And you know what? On Twitter, it's actually Epowet DS with a DS at the end for digital services. Epowet was taken. Well, what are the odds? I thought that was a pretty unique name. Well, let's see. So continuing with with the theme of search engine optimization. At this point, we've talked about what SEO is, how to use keywords to create content that ranks well with Google, how do you show up in local search? And a few weeks ago, we talked about Google My Business and why that's so important. So this week, we're going to continue on and we're going to talk about online citations. So this is going to be one of our shorter episodes today, but don't let that fool you. It really is an important topic. And, we're going to cover it and I'm going to give you guys some tips on, what you can do to get started. But it really is kind of a broader subject than what we're covering here. So, with this whole series, my goal is to help you guys to get started, not necessarily turn you into experts. And, if you want to be an expert, that's amazing and that's fine. But my goal is to kind of help people become beginners or to go from beginner to intermediate and just kind of know what you're doing. And so we're going to dive in and talk about what you can do to begin implementing this stuff right away. But we're not going to get super duper technical. So let's see. So I guess first things first, what are online citations? Well, think of it like this. Where is your business showing up online? Right? So your online citations, it's any website that lists your NAP. And we've talked about the NAP a few weeks ago, especially with the Google My Business stuff. Your NAP is your name, address, and phone number. And Google My Business actually is a great example of an online citation. But there are other examples too. It's not the only one. There's Yelp, Facebook, and believe it or not, even Bing Local. And Yelp is a big one, even for MSPs. I have one client who he gets a lot of business from Yelp, which is kind of surprising to a lot of people because a lot of people think of Yelp as being like for like food or entertainment type stuff. And here he is, serving other business customers. And no, he's doing pretty good. So we got to give it to Yelp. If you don't have a Yelp page, even for your business to business company, set that up. So why are citations important? Well, aside from what I just mentioned with Yelp, online citations they're yet another method that Google and other search engines use to determine whether or not to show your business in searches. So what they do is those search engines, they count relevant links or citations back to your site. And that's called a backlink. And there's actually two types of backlinks. And this is very broadly speaking. They're content backlinks, where another website posts some of your content and then provides a link to your website where they actually found your content. And then there's the citations, which are the online business directories that we're talking about right now. It's stuff where they're displaying your NAP and providing a link to your website. So content links come from things like sharing great content and doing all the stuff that we talked about in episode 2 when we talked about creating content that Google loves. But citations are also extremely valuable and they can have a huge impact on your overall SEO. And that's why we kind of devote this whole episode to it. When you perform a local search, a lot of times the first few organic results come from an online directory site. So something like Yelp. And this is kind of another reason. So I know that if you've probably done this, right? You've looked for like milkshakes in San Diego or what have you. And a lot of times the first thing that comes up is it's Yelp and it's like the best places to get milkshakes in San Diego, top 10 places. And when a user clicks there, you want to show up there, not for milkshakes, of course, but you could show up there. And that's just yet another way to get in front of your customers. And so why are citations so important? Well, if we're going to sum this all up, it improves local search visibility and rankings by allowing Google to create an accurate and complete profile of your business. I'm kind of trying to decide if I want to go into that a little bit more. I think I do. So when you make citations, we're going to talk about this a little bit more in just a second, but when you make these citations on various sites, you want to make sure that your name, address, and phone number, your NAP, are consistent across it. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say you're in Suite 101. If you have STE.101 on Google and SUITE 101 on Facebook and the number sign 101 on Yelp, that's disharmony. There's no harmony in that, and it doesn't match up together. Couldn't find the word I was looking for, but it doesn't match up, and that can actually hurt you because Google sees that that mismatch and counts it against your business, because it's like your business is not super trustworthy because it's inconsistent with its information. So I hope that makes sense. I had a little bit of trouble spitting it out there, but Google looks for consistency. And so when you're not consistent, that's what hurts you. And, the algorithms, they're just not smart enough to say that, a number sign, suite written out, or STE are all the same thing. So firstly, that's what it allows to do. When you have your citations out there and they're accurate, it allows Google to kind of create that overall picture of your business as a complete business profile, and it's something that is trustworthy. It also improves referral sources, especially when you show up on sites like Yelp. Third, they actually improve the user experience by providing an accurate and up-to-date information about your business. And this happens on sites where people are already naturally searching. So if someone searches for Yelp and they see your business, there's some user friendliness there because they're not having to go out of their way to look for you, right? They're using a platform, an app, or a service that they use on a consistent basis. And then it also just helps your business get found in general. A lot of people use directory sites primarily during the research phase of the buyer's journey. So these are people who are looking for a service or a product that works best and is most highly recommended. And we'll dig into that a little bit more in future episodes as well. So how do you actually begin to build up your online citations? Well, building and maintaining your citations is actually like a 3-step process, right? So first, you need to identify where you want to be listed. And there are several obvious high traffic sites, stuff like Google, Facebook, Yelp, being local, and so on. But in conjunction with those big guys, you also have to include niche specific sites. So for example, if you provide, let's say, VoIP services, so in that case, there's actually a site called www.vip-info.com/VoIP-service-providers, right? So, and that's just a list of like VoIP providers. So if you are a VoIP provider, then being on that list is something that you want to do, right? And so finding those really niche directories is something that can be really profitable for you and can really help pay off. So after that, after you've identified kind of where you want to show up, then you actually have to start that process. And for some sources, it's fairly simple. For Google, you have to verify your address. We talked about this in episode 5, actually, when we talked about Google My Business, and how what happens is Google sends you a postcard with a code on it, and then you use that code online to verify your business. For Facebook, it's as easy as just creating a business page. For being local, it's really easy. Once you've verified on Google, you can actually import your information from Google into being local. So that's a no-brainer. In fact, the ease of use there is one of the reasons it's on my list here. And Yelp is pretty easy as well. You just go in there and kind of create a business profile. At the time of recording, they're free. I've heard people complain that they're not free, but I checked and it was free. So I'm not sure where they're looking. But for some other providers, it can actually be kind of a complicated process. Sometimes you have to make like a formal submission, and then you have to wait through like an approval process, and that can take some time. And then for some providers, actually, there's like payment required. So sometimes they'll require a one-time fee to set it up, or sometimes it's a month-over-month recurring fee. And, in those cases, if you're trying to set up citations and they're trying to charge you, you just have to kind of determine how valuable that source is for you and whether or not it's worth the expenditure. And sometimes it may be, and sometimes it won't. You just kind of have to use your own judgment there. And then as you're setting all this up, remember, and this is where I'm putting in that note, to remember that your name, address, and phone number are consistent. So, I already dug into this, so I'm not going to do it again, but having it consistent across all your citation platforms or sources, that's how you want to do it. And then the third step after you've decided where you want to be and you've started going through that process is to maintain. And the obvious maintenance is just remembering to update your citation providers if your address or phone number changes. They need to be updated so that it remains consistent. But with other sites, you really get the most out of it by utilizing the tools that they provide. And so I'm thinking specifically about things like posting regularly on Facebook or regularly adding new content on Google My Business. If sites like that are providing you tools for your business, then using those tools, it's going to keep your profile fresh and it's going to set you apart, not just for the algorithms, but also for the people who are viewing your business profile. Most people honestly don't bother with that. And so if you are bothering with that, that's something that's going to set you over your competition. So again, this is a short episode. And one more thing before we call it. I hope that by now I've kind of managed to convince you guys that citations are a powerful tool in your SEO toolbox. It really does improve your search visibility. It helps you get more organic views. It improves your customer user experience. And what's the whole point? It helps you get found. But something you need to know going in is that it really doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time to create listings, submit applications, and get approval. And while it's worth the time, it only highlights how important it is that you get started now, because the sooner you get started, the sooner you're actually going to be able to reap those benefits. And so as you get started, do this. Start with easy ones first. Okay. So like Google My Business, by now, hopefully you already have that set up. If not, set it up. And once that's set up, import your information into being local, then create a business page on Facebook, pretty easy, and then get listed in Yelp. Those four, they're pretty easy. And if you do them in that order or kind of a parallel order, you can knock those out pretty quickly. And then once you have that strong base of citations, the next thing to do is just consistently add a few more each month. So you should have that list of where you want to show up online. So just go through there each month and, make it a goal that, and kind of build it into your monthly flow. Like maybe like on the first Friday of each month, I'm going to submit 5 new citations or 10 new citations, right? And then, you also have to have a task maybe towards the end of the month to follow up with those so that if there's any kind of hiccups or anything, you're able to take care of that. And as you do that consistently, it'll do a few things for you. It'll create momentum, right? And it'll become a habit so that you're doing this all the time. And so much of SEO is about consistency. And so as you're building that habit, that's going to serve you. And then the other thing is that your citations will grow, of course, and your SEO will improve because of that. And it happens faster than you think. It really does. After, I know I just said it didn't happen overnight. It kind of depends on your idea of like timetables, right? But, after a few months of doing that, you're going to start to see some changes. And after 6 months and after like a year, you're really going to be reaping the benefits of that. So let's just recap real quick. Citations are important because they improve your search visibility because you're showing up in those lists. It gets you more organic views, and organic views, they are always better than paid views because here's the thing. So people that are viewing you organically, for the most part, and to some degree, they're pre-qualified because they got to you on their own without you getting in their face, like with ads. Also, it improves the customer's experience because you're showing up in places where they are already and in an organic way. And of course, the whole point of the thing is that it helps you get in front of more potential customers and it helps your SEO. So how can you get started with online citations? Well, first, you just make a list of sites that you want to show up on. Google, Facebook, Bing, Yelp, topping the list. Yahoo Local is another one you could be on. And then just having several niche specific sites as well identified that you want to be on. Then you create those listings, or you submit for business approval, whichever one you're able to do, depending on the source. And then step 3 is you just maintain those listings, you update your profiles, and you have a plan to add, a few new citations each month. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. Citations really are important. It's hard to overstate the importance of citations. And I think that sometimes it's equally hard to get people to understand why they're so important and how they can be so impactful. In the next episode, I think we're going to dive into, we're going to dive into this topic that's pretty closely related to online citations, and it's reputation management. And so we're going to talk about why reputation management is so important. I'm going to give you guys a simple system, the same one that we use with our clients, actually, that helps you get more reviews and it helps you get better reviews. And it takes less time than if than some of the other, we won't get into it now, but some of the other tactics, this is a little bit better. So be sure to check back in with us next week.